Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home. Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief Podcast brought to you by the DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, joined by my co-hosts
Who may or may not be wearing pants.
who may or may not be wearing pants, who are admittedly not adults. At least Scott. Oh, Scott, what are you sipping over there?
Ginger ale?
An adult beverage.
I was like, is that an old-fashioned or something?
It's a ginger ale.
Yeah. I thought we were having happy hour here. I only have my Dunkin' iced decaf.
I'm running my third energy drink of the day to stay alive here.
All right. Well, so I am joined, as always, by Scott, Kathleen, and Phil. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi guys.
Welcome aboard, guys.
So, if the intro is any indication of the shenanigans that we are going to be getting into as we discuss this topic today, then I don't know. Phil just made a face. Phil's always making faces.
I was trying to figure out what Kathleen was doing with Parker behind the scenes there.
I was giving her kisses.
Yeah, she makes out with her.
I do. Stop. I do not. She's my mama.
So today we're going to talk about, and this came about because I saw, and as many people probably saw, if you are listening to this podcast, then you probably, the algorithm on social media probably serves you a ton of Disney content the way that it does me. And so there was this article that has been popping up sporadically over the past several months to a year about Disney adults. And, you know, there was a Rolling Stones article in June of 2022 was called, the headline says, Disney adults in defense of the most hated people on the internet.
Ouch.
And then there was one from October of 2023 that ran in the Daily Mail, the UK paper. I don't know that it's the most reputable news source. And they ran an article that essentially said that the psychology of behind being a Disney adult, psychologists investigating this fandom found it could stem from personal trauma, a way to revive core memories, or a sense of belonging. So, I mean, it sounds as though this psychologist, or people in general, think that people who are Disney adults have some sort of psychological issue and that it's not normal. So I thought it would be fun to dig into that and, you know, see what our opinions are, if we consider ourselves Disney adults, and just have a little good time, a little chat with this on this topic. So I just want to start by saying I never considered myself to be a Disney adult. I had a very clear vision of what I thought a Disney adult was. And in my mind, a Disney adult was not just somebody who went to the parks, but it was somebody who decorated their entire house, every room, with Disney themes, Disney decor, wore Disney clothes everywhere they went, watched every single Disney movie. It wasn't just limited to the theme parks. So I thought, you know, like I don't really fall into the category of somebody who decorates with Disney stuff. I don't really wear Disney apparel when I'm not at Disney World. And I'm not, you know, other than like, you know, when movies come out, I'll go and see them in the theater, but I don't have like this giant collection of Disney movies. And so I never really considered myself to be a Disney adult. And I said that to my kids once, and they both, I mean, I think they got whiplash when I said that, and they looked at me and they're like, what are you talking about? you are too a Disney adult. And so my kids, who are both, what are they? They're Gen Z, I guess. They consider me to be a Disney adult. So what do you guys think? What is your definition of a Disney adult? And do you
Yes,
consider
we think you
yourself-
are, in fact, a Disney adult, if that's the answer you're looking for.
100% Disney adult.
Who, me?
Yes, you. If there was a picture in the dictionary of a Disney adult, I believe your picture would be there.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, guys. We've settled this issue.
You know what's funny is that we ended the last episode or 2 episodes ago talking about how it I think it was the episode that we did about merch, and it said that it felt like group therapy, that we're just like having like a group therapy talk session, and maybe this is what this is again. Is this an intervention, guys? I know this was my idea, but
This will be $100 copay to all 3 of us. You're welcome.
Phil, is this like the video that you sent us about the guy and the girl that go on the date, and they, she wants to go other places, and he just wants to go to Disney?
Did you guys see? I got almost no response when I sent those to you guys. The College Humor Disney YouTube videos between the therapy of the princes and princesses and then the date of the Disney versus the non-Disney person, those never get old.
I
No,
watched every
that was
single
great.
one, and I did respond. I thought they were hilarious, and I think that for those listening, you should post them on the DVC Clubhouse Facebook page. And
I
so
can
if
do
you
that.
don't already follow us on that page, you should definitely follow us so you can see these videos that we're
Insert
referencing.
shameless plug here.
You're not supposed to call it out. I was trying to be very subtle about it, just like very organic.
You are not subtle, and you are a Disney adult. We have now solved 2
Well,
questions.
I mean, I guess if I'm hosting a Disney podcast
Yep.
and have a YouTube channel and a Facebook group all about Disney World, I mean, I guess you guys have a point.
So I have another group that I talk with all the time. I'm on their podcast sometimes, and it's 5 grown men. It is myself, working on the water and doing police and military training. There's a federal agent. There's a salesman for a company. There's a firefighter, and there's a guy who's retired. And it's 5 full-grown men that just spend the entire day talking about all the ins and outs of Disney. Yeah, we are Disney adults. I hate to break it to you.
So that's the consensus here. Everyone here, Kathleen, you think so too?
I just think, it just depends on what you consider as a Disney adult. I mean, yeah, I think definitely we're all Disney adults. I mean, we enjoy the parks just like kids do. So, or sometimes even more.
I'm looking around our house right now, and it's 75% decorated
well,
Disney.
Hold on, back up. So, our house hasn't vomited Disney. It's very subtle. Amy, you've been here.
It is very subtle touches.
Yeah, it's not like colorful Disney things everywhere.
It's not like pop.
Right. It's not like you took
No.
each room in your house and themed it to like a different Disney movie or something.
Yeah, it's deluxe resort Disney, not value resort Disney. Got it.
Just to give you some insight, as you walk in the front door, you're greeted on your left-hand side of 12 pictures of our home resorts. And
Well, they're
as you're
photographs. They're photographs that
Photographs.
Kathleen took.
and as you're standing there looking at that, you're actually standing on a rug that has Mickey on it.
They're very subtle touches, and you know it.
They're
so.
very subtle touches, but we are very much Disney adults, definitely.
The welcome sign that hangs on our front door says welcome, and then I think it's the O has magnets for different seasons, but it's all done in like Disney Waltograph font.
I believe
Yes.
we have that same welcome sign, don't we?
We do.
To the right.
I don't really have any Disney decor in my home other than I also have photographs that I've taken at Disney, but they're not. I also think that those are subtle too, because they're not pictures of like Cinderella's castle or Spaceship
Mm-mm.
Earth. They're like picture of like a reflection over like the water at Disney Springs, like sunset but I just want to say an addendum to what you said, Phil, about being it's deluxe resort decor, not value resort. Deluxe resort circa 1995.
Fair enough. Yeah,
You
no
know?
Incredibles on the wall in the closet.
Right. Exactly. I don't have hey tile on my backsplash in my kitchen.
I said it before. I love Polly until Hey Hey got to watch me make coffee in the morning in my boxer briefs, and it just got a little weird.
Yeah, especially with that facial expression that Hey Hey makes.
I was about to say we are not Disney adults. We are a Disney family because the pictures on the walls are all the kids at Disney. And then it occurred to me that in like 80 days, Emily and I are flying down there to spend a weekend with Scott and Kathleen without any kids. So I'm just going to shut up now.
Yeah. So, I guess my question then is, as a Disney adult, why do you think you are so drawn to Disney? And we've gotten into this before about like the feels and the details and whatnot. But so this isn't really about what Disney does. It's really about what is it about you that is drawn to Disney?
You want to go?
And do you think that you have unresolved childhood trauma and that that's how you're healing your inner child?
No, I don't think I have childhood trauma. I think it's actually a reminder of my childhood. I was very fortunate. I had a great mom and dad, great childhood. My dad was the only one that worked. So financially, we kind of struggled a little bit. So we weren't ever able to go and do things like Disney, but we did have amusement parks like Geauga Lake.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very family friendly park. And I think something like that, just the memories of that, we make fun of certain rides like the Tomorrowland Speedway, but Geauga Lake actually had old fashioned cars.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it
they
was
did.
just something that, you had to do when you went to that park. And I kind of feel that way about Disney too. So in a very strange kind of way, Disney just takes me back to my childhood, even though my childhood did not include Disney. And that's what makes me, that's what continues to bring me back to that. Because every time I set foot in there, there's just a piece of me, my childhood that, I remember the, like I said, the old fashioned cars, the log ride at
Mhm.
Geauga Lake, which would be a lot like Splash Mountain or Tiana's right now. But definitely just, my childhood memories and everything that kind of, I'm smiling right now just thinking about it. But that's what draws me to Disney. And we talked about it in the last episode too. It might not be the best ride, it might not be the most popular ride, but it's that feel that you get, that nostalgia, that memory. That's what keeps me coming back to Disney for sure.
Good answer.
Must be the ginger ale.
As you swirl your ginger ale in your glass. That brings me back to my childhood. I feel like ginger ale makes me think about like when I was home watching Price is Right, homesick from school with a stomach virus, drinking ginger ale and eating saltine crackers.
Watching Price is Right and The Young and the Restless.
Don't forget to spay and neuter your pet.
Oh no, I was an ABC soaps girl. So it was Ryan's Hope, All My Children, One Life to Live, and General Hospital for me.
General Hospital, Luke and Laura. You cannot go wrong with Luke and Laura, the Scorpios.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We are so dating ourselves right now.
Oh man. So Kathleen, what about you? So interesting because you only have been to Disney World like first time was 2020. And so
Yep.
this is like a relatively new immersion for you.
Right. Like, that's another reason why I think I'm a Disney adult. I didn't grow up going to Disney, but like Scott said, I grew up going to amusement parks. And it really does remind me of that growing up. And then all the movies I watched as a kid. And when I would watch stuff on TV, I remember seeing like the monorail, like stuff like that. So it does remind you of certain parts of your childhood, even though you've never been there as a child.
Well, you bring up a good point about the movies because every Disney movie at the beginning of it with,
Yes.
the castle
Yep.
and the fireworks, you could just only dream of being there. And now that we actually get to be there all the time, it's like, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, you looked at that and you were like, wow, does that even exist?
Yep. I totally agree with everything Scott said. That's exactly how I feel. I mean, when I think of, anyone that's grown up in Northeast Ohio or anywhere in Ohio knows of Geauga Lake. And sometimes I think about it and it brings back all the feels that I have for Disney right now. And it's just a happy time. Cedar Point ended up buying the park and closing it down. And I mean, right now, I mean, there's still pictures of like the old rides there, and people try to open it up again. I mean, it's just so sad to think about it because it was such a happy time, and anybody that lived in that area. That's
What was your first roller coaster?
It was at Geauga Lake, the
Raging
Raging
Wolf
Wolf Bobs. It was the best time. And when I think of Disney, I always think of something from Geauga Lake when I see something at Disney.
But just to kind of build on that though, like even like that feeling and being at the park, it's almost like a privilege to be there when we do get to go. And because it takes you back and it gives you that feeling. And then that has led to just something unbelievable with the friendships that we've developed with people from all over the country, to be able to meet new people, through Disney Vacation Club. And we have similar interests. Obviously everybody loves Disney. We're all just fans of it. I know we talk about it and we complain about some of the decisions that they make and the things that they do, but to have the feels and to let that lead into the relationships that we've built with people over the last couple years, it's just an incredible feeling. And I think that's what makes us Disney adults.
Yep.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, guys.
It is a tough act to follow. And I'm going to be honest. I'm sitting here and I'm struggling a little bit with what I want to disclose and what I don't, because I don't think that Daily Mail article was entirely inaccurate. And it brings me to kind of some uncomfortable conversations. So I might dance a little bit here. Scott said something that really kind of brought it home, is that it's a privilege to be there. And growing up, I had an okay home life, but I had some great, amazing grandparents who were kind enough to bring us down on a pretty regular basis. And we would stay actually about an hour away from Disney, but 2 days of that vacation, you would go into Disney, and we got to see it a lot. My parents had actually brought me when I was very, very little. And to this day, I have no idea how they afforded it at the time. But I guess when we get there, when we first went to Disney, we stayed off site. We were at a timeshare and we brought Luke. He was, I think, 18 months old at the time. And I think there's just always been this feeling in the US since, we'll call it the mid 50s. And then when Disney opened in the 70s, that when you brought your kids to Disney, like you had kind of made it. I equate it back to where we live now. We are fortunate enough that my kids get to drive by the beach every day on their way to school. And it's just part of the normal life for them. When I was growing up, one day a summer, we would come down to the beach, and it was a big deal that we could come down, we could spend a day on the beach, we could have chowder and clam cakes, which is kind of a New England thing. And now my kids get to drive by the beach. When I go back and forth between my office and home, I get to drive by the beach. That brings me more pride than anything that I can do that for my kids. And I think a lot of that plays into Disney as well, where Disney was in a lot of ways unattainable at home. And the fact that I can bring my kids there on a regular basis means a lot to me. And I don't know why that's so significant and only surrounding the Disney product, but it is. So we started bringing the kids, and I had gone some as a little kid. But I think now as an adult looking at it, I think the article is right, because when you're inside the bubble, and I think this is kind of why I took the announcements last week so hard, is Frontierland and Fantasyland and Adventureland, but to me specifically Frontierland kind of evokes this idyllic location, this idyllic childhood. And you can walk through there and it just feels like everything is okay. When you're at Disney, once you come under that big welcome sign, I don't know about you guys, we just breathe this big sigh. The kids cheer and you have arrived. And once you drive under that sign and you're on Disney property, everything is okay.
You've made
Whatever's
it.
You've made it. Everything outside of that bubble, the work stresses and the home stresses and whatever it is, it does not matter. And that still applies when we go down. If it's just Emily and I going to see Scott and Kathleen, we can be adults inside the park, and there's still things for us to do as adults. But as you guys know, when I was down there a few years ago and we saw Amy, we saw you guys, I walked onto Main Street and I was just completely overwhelmed with guilt that my children were not there. Everything is just okay there. My wife says she never sees me breathe easily like I do when I'm on Disney property. And I think that is what has drawn me in. That is what has kept me, is that when I'm walking down that path in Frontierland, I can imagine that I'm actually Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn or someone that's just back at a simpler time. And I think that's the feeling that Disney gives me. And they do such a good job of it, aside from the crowds and the craziness and the balloons. But when you're walking down Main Street, you're looking at these late 1800s, early 1900s buildings back when things were simpler. When you're in Fantasyland, you can immerse yourself in that fairy tale idyllic location. When you're in Adventureland, you can go and see all of these crazy animals, elephants and hippos and crocodiles. And they've done it, and some would argue that they've done a disservice, but everything's okay and it's fun and it's easygoing. And that is, I think, what has resonated with me and turned me into this person who loves Disney so much. And as time has gone on, I'm a history geek. There is so much history behind Disney, especially Walt Disney World. There's some amazing books out there about how it all came together, and that just speaks to that historical geek that's inside of me. But I do want to end with one thing that I should have mentioned at the beginning is I think there are two kinds of Disney adults. There are those of us that go and enjoy the park and enjoy having the kids there and seeing the joy on their face. And then there's that absolutely awful influencer who will kick over three children and scream about the bubbles in their face because it's ruining their Disney experience. I'm very different from that Disney adult, and I need to make that very clear. There's a reason that Disney adults have a bad name, and it's those people that make us look bad with their antics on social media. So let's just make sure that those Martians don't get into our Disney adult group, and there's a distinct dividing line between us.
Yeah, and that's a fair point because I do think that there's been a shift in what being a Disney adult actually has meant over the past couple of years, especially with the advent of influencers on social media and just Instagram and TikTok and trying to capture the best content. I do think that there's like been a little bit of a shift, but I think we all four are on the kind of the same page. We're like the same type of Disney adult where this is really about a special experience for us, not about just creating content for other people. It's about, and even this podcast, like this is not us just trying to create content because we just want to be influencers. It's because
Oh,
we
dear
love,
God, we irritate way too many people to be influencers and want to monetize this.
but it's because we love it. And we all just feel, to Scott's point, like it is a privilege and we've created these friendships and it feels like I'm just so grateful for the fact that I have like now found other people in my life who are willing to sit down and talk about this stuff for an hour and 20 minutes. Our last podcast episode was almost an hour and 20 minutes and it flew by, and talking about it with other adults who can, who can get it or who you can debate with. It really is nice. So yeah, I think that we've definitely within, DVC Clubhouse, I think we have for the like most part found our, the same type of people who are just, they're DVC members because they are the type of Disney adults that just want to be able to go there and experience Disney over and over and over again because of whatever, however. And yes, I mean, to sum it up, and it's to sum up every episode, the reason why we become Disney adults is because of the feels. I think what it makes us feel is different per person. And, for me, I also was not somebody who was going to Disney World as a little kid. I didn't go for the first time until I was a freshman in high school. But as a kid, I was, the fact that I love Disney World is so unsurprising because I was the kid who, my family, my parents didn't have a ton of money either. We didn't, they wouldn't have been able to bring us to Disney World. We didn't even have a VCR until like I remember when we got one well after other people had gotten them, and it was a huge deal.
Did you get yours on a payment plan like we did? We had to go to the local video store, and it was like a 2-year payment plan for that VCR.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they managed it, but they somehow managed to get a VCR. But I was every time I would go to my cousin's house, I would immediately go into their family room and I would either put in the Mary Martin version of Peter Pan or Wizard of Oz. And it was, I mean, my cousins couldn't stand when I would visit because I would go over and I would monopolize the TV and the VCR so that I could watch those movies back to back. And I loved those movies because they both have this element of imagination and escape and being able to transport to someplace else. You know, in Peter Pan, you're transporting to Neverland, and in Wizard of Oz, she's over the rainbow, and everything is bright and there's colors, and they're both have music, and you know, and as a kid and as a teenager, I was also really into music. I played piano. I was in chorus. I loved musicals. I started going to Broadway. You know, I'm from New Jersey. I grew up in a town that was 10 minutes from the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel into the city. And so I went to my first Broadway musical, I think when I was, in third grade. I saw Cats, and we would go see a musical every year. And I loved that too, because it's like it's creating something, musicals are like an immersion into a world of entertainment that has been created for you. And I was also the kid who literally, like, I would play in my room with a tape recorder for hours. I mean, it's kind of funny, like it's like dawning on me now, like sitting here doing this podcast. But I literally would sit with my with my tape recorder, and I would pretend I was a news reporter, and I would make up these like fake newscasts, and I would go into elaborate detail about like the things that I was reporting on. And so I think the first time I stepped into like, went to Disney World, when my friend in high school invited me to go with her family on winter break, I all of a sudden was stepping into a real life place that was like Neverland, or that was like Oz, or being over the rainbow. It was like being in a musical. And I loved that they called everybody who worked there cast members, because it made you feel like you were in a live action entertainment um experience. And so that's what I've always loved about it, is that it's really seeing imagination and creativity coming to life and being able to experience those things that as a kid or even as an adult you can only watch. You can be an audience member, whereas when you're at Disney you feel like you're part of the story that's unfolding. And I love that. And that's why, like, it doesn't even have to be the theme parks, the resorts, being able to step into a resort that whisks you away to the Pacific Northwest, or to, French Polynesia, or to the, turn of the century Atlantic City Boardwalk. That is like what's so thrilling to me about it, is that it really is taking imagination and bringing it to life. It's bringing you to places that you might never be able to go to, but it's also recreating time periods that you'll never be able to visit, but you can experience it being at Disney World. And I think that for me is really why I love it, because it opens you up to experiencing different times and places, all within a backdrop of great music, great colors, great smells. Like, it's a fully sensory experience of imagination come to life. And I feel, like Walt Disney, clearly the original Disney adult, that is what he wanted to create. That's what he loved. He loved that feeling of being able to bring that magic to life. And so I think we're just all extensions of who he was. Like, these were adults. You could say that the parks are for kids, and they are for kids. They're for families, but I think they're for everybody. And there's no way, no greater way to show that than to show that this was Walt Disney and a team of Imagineers who were working in office buildings, coming up with these models, to using all of their creative talent to bring imagination to life so that everyone could experience a little bit of magic in their life. And it worked. And that's why we all go, because I think that anybody who goes to Disney more than once is actually a Disney adult. because you were hooked and you needed to go back.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I don't know, I hearing you talk and whether you have kids or not as an adult, I mean, let's face it, I'm just going to say it. We all have that we deal with, and going to Disney is that time where you can just let it go. Whether it's work, whether it's family, whatever it might be, that's the time where you can just kind of let it go and be yourself. And I don't know, to me, that's one of the most magical things about Disney is you can just be who you want to be. You know, that inner child in you, everything that molded you into being the adult that you are today, the memories that you have, the good memories. You set foot into Disney and you can just be that person that you want to be, and you don't have to worry about that stuff. The work, the stress.
I mean, it happens to us when we go sometimes from work some days.
And that's why I said it's such a privilege to
Mm-hmm.
be able to live here and to go, because you could have the worst day, and as soon as you set foot into Magic Kingdom, you kind of just feel this.
I totally forgot about my bad day at work.
Yeah, you just feel
Mm-hmm.
this release, and that big monkey is off your shoulders, and you can kind of breathe a little easier, and just for a moment you can just forget about it. It's there. I mean, we all know it's still going to be there
Yeah.
when you walk out, but you can just forget about it for just a little bit. And I kind of feel like if that's how you feel when you go into the bubble, then you definitely, whether you have kids or not, you qualify as a Disney adult for sure.
I think you just touched on what I was going to say. Disney is an escape. I have a friend who makes fun of me all the time because of my Disney vacations. Like, oh, you're going to Disney again, going to the theme park. Like, dude, shut up. Every time I see you go on vacation, you found some crappy Mexican seaside village, and all you do for a week and a half is get drunk in the bar. You have no business making fun of where I choose to spend my vacation time. Like, you don't remember half of yours. And I think that it, again, I'm dancing a little bit. You look at the Daily Mail article, I don't think it's just an escape from today. It's not just an escape from the awful day you had at work or the awful year you've had prior to your vacation. I'm going to go back to the word idyllic. The older I get, the more I realize how not idyllic my childhood was. And I can step into a Disney park with my kids and we can escape all of that. I can not just kind of fix what was my childhood, I can ensure that their childhood is idyllic. And that to me is the ultimate part of showing up with them is you can just see their faces light up and there's not a care in the world. And even little kids have cares. Even little kids have to face, bullies at school and pressures and they get there and it does not matter. It's the one thing Disney has been able to manufacture is some brand of magical happiness that when you're there, the rest of the stuff doesn't count, and that is the hook.
Priceless.
And I've had so many people say to me, like, I get that you like it, but there are so many other places you can go on vacation. Why not go there? I'm like, well, first of all, I do vacation other places. So I think that's like a common misconception is that those of us who are Disney adults have basically like sold our souls to Disney and now can never go to any other destination ever again, which is just not true. But there's also I think, Phil, you're right. Like there is a little bit of an escape, and we've all talked about it. And you said it before. When you drive under the welcome sign and you arrive, you have entered a bubble, and within that bubble, almost everything has been taken care of for you. There's transportation. It's safe. It's clean. There are restaurants. They have thought of pretty much everything that you would need to think of in order to have a vacation that is going to just allow you to be present and have that privilege of being able to disconnect, because there are some vacations where you can't do that, even under like with the best laid plans, dealing with taxis and trying to find restaurants and maybe being in places where I'll never forget. Like I went on a Disney cruise years ago with my sister and her husband and their son, and it was just when Allie was one and Emma wasn't born yet. And we're on the Disney cruise and we're feeling like, because the same feeling exists on a Disney cruise as it exists at Disney World. And we're just feeling like everything is being taken care of. And we get off the ship and we go and we do some stuff. And my brother-in-law accidentally left the camera case underneath the chair. And when he realized, they went back and it was gone. And, then there was a whole ordeal with the passports and all of this. And it's not to say that things like that don't happen when you're at Disney, that there aren't annoying things that you have to deal with, but it just was such a, like, the juxtaposition of the ease of the cruise, where you didn't have to think about anything. You didn't have to worry about how you were going to get from point A to point B because all of the details were taken care of. And then getting off and being on an island where you're responsible for figuring it all out on your own, and that's why, like, even on like Disney cruises, I love going to the Disney islands so much because they take care of all of those details for you there. And so I think that's part of it. It's like they think of everything for you. And yes, not every vacation is going to go smoothly. You might get sick, you might lose something, whatever it is. But what's so great about Disney is that they're willing to help you figure it out. They are there with you every step of the way. And you're just in this bubble where you feel like, kind of like you said, Phil, like everything's okay. Even when things aren't okay, you feel like they will be okay. Versus like other places, other times in your life where things go wrong, and it's just like, one more thing I need to figure out now.
The final point I had written down was they make it easy. And if there's one thing I really wish Disney would bring back, everyone talks about Magical Express, and we become very spoiled with having a car service. I would never go back to the bus. But dear Lord, bring back the baggage transfer. They make everything easy. When you get on property, the transportation is taken care of. There's meals there. You've already planned them out. There's always going to be food available. The accommodations are beautiful. Everything is just set. The one thing I would ask is let me put those yellow tags back in my luggage so those magically arrive back in my room as well. But they make it very, very easy to vacation. Everyone can complain all they want about how difficult it is to plan the vacation and the rides. But if you do just a modicum of planning prior to going down there, from the moment you drive under that welcome sign, everything is just going to be okay. And if it's not, they will go out of their way to try and make it okay for you. They make vacationing easy. And I've seen other places. I did Europe for 3 weeks out of a backpack through London, through all of England, across France, Paris, you name it. And I had a great time. And we're going to bring the kids back there as well as the national parks and everything else. But we're still going to want to go back to Disney just because it's easy.
It's easy, and it's the combination of all the things. It's easy and it feels like all of the things that we talked about. Whereas like for a lot of vacations, like I said, it's not necessarily evoking any sort of nostalgia. Like, it's fun to go to new places because you experience new things, but it's not necessarily evoking any sort of nostalgia, and it's not as easy. You need to figure everything out. And so while it's wonderful to go and see new things, I also like the balance of being able to go to Disney where everything's already figured out. And I'm also very familiar with it. And I know that regardless of what I do, I'm going to have a great time because I'm going to go someplace. And again, I think that that's like also where, being a DVC member has been such a privilege, because being able to make every single trip that I make to Disney World feel and look a little bit different, so that I never feel like when I'm going to Disney, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. Every single trip is new. I'm always doing something that I've never done before when I go to Disney World. And now, to Scott's point, I've made friends. And Disney World, when I go to Disney now, when I'm not with my kids, it's usually I'm going and I'm hanging out with the other Disney adult friends that I've made. And so Disney has now become like a meeting place for me, like a gathering place where I'm getting together with friends, and it's so fun. And so it's like my enjoyment of Disney is just continuing to grow and evolve as I get older. As I'm an adult and progressing through my adult years, it's just even getting better because the experience is just getting richer and richer for me. Whether I'm watching my kids enjoy it or I'm meeting up with friends who I can have a laugh with and have a drink with and go out to meals with and ride rides. I mean, I look at the three of you and I have great memories of being at Disney World with you guys, like Kathleen and Scott. We've had so much fun recording those videos, going to different lounges and restaurants. Phil, we rode Astro Orbiter together. We watched Fantasmic together that night. Like, those are all memories that are a part of my Disney adult experience that make that experience even richer than it already was. And that's going to continue to be the case.
Also, as I look across my hallway, I have a Vero Beach bathroom and a Spaceship Earth cookie jar. I believe that qualifies me.
It's funny you should mention that. As we are sitting here recording this podcast, I watch Amazon pull up in front of my house and deliver a package to my front door. And it is the new Disney history book about Pirates of the Caribbean that just got dropped off for me. So I think I have no skin in this game of arguing I'm not a Disney adult. And for anybody, by the way, who is a Disney history geek, I cannot recommend Fox Nolte enough. They are the most amazing Disney history books, and I cannot wait to peel open, what is it, Scoundrels, Villains, and Knaves, Disneyland, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Popular Culture. So if you have a chance, read these.
Well, and speaking of pirates, so when we started the episode or right beforehand, Scott had a eye patch on because there it is. He's holding it right now because Kathleen, Scott, and I are going on the Disney Magic for a cruise with Jacqueline and Curtis from DVC Clubhouse also on Monday. And if you've ever been on Disney Cruise Line, or if you haven't, you know that there is a pirate night, and it's so fun because somebody, I think it was Jacqueline, asked if I was going to dress up for pirate night, and the answer was like a resounding yes. And the first time my kids went on a cruise, Emma was like, I'm not. I mean, my older daughter, she's just like introverted. It's not her thing. There's no way you'll ever see her dress up as a pirate. Emma is like the creative type and a little bit more, she likes that type of stuff. But the first cruise she went on, she said, there's no way I'm dressing up as a pirate. Like, she didn't think anyone was going to do it. She was going to like look like a dork if she did it. And you get on board and everyone, adults and kids alike, are, on pirate night are wearing their pirate gear. And so now she's going on her third Disney cruise. She has her Disney pirate outfit that she bought for the second cruise. And it's just fun because everyone gets into it. And so when you're around, I think that there is like also this quality about Disney adults where we're willing to just do it, like immerse ourselves into it and not feel like we don't care, like we're not worrying about if people are judging us. We just want to go and we want to have fun and we want to do the thing, and everyone's doing it together. And so that's part of it too, because it's just kind of like this reckless abandon of like, let's just have fun. Maybe I do want to tap into my inner child, but I'm doing it with other people and everyone's doing it together and it's just fun. And you know what? To your point, Scott, like everyone does have their own shit that they're going through in life, and life is hard and life is busy and life is stressful, and being and adulting is hard. So being a Disney adult allows us to kind of make the hard go away for a little bit and just connect with the fun and just have fun.
I'm 44 years old and I have every stress you could possibly imagine. Work, you name it. I mean, it's, everybody out there can relate with the stresses of life. And in a week from now, I'm going to be a pirate.
Arrgh.
And I'm proud of it.
It's funny that you guys went with that because I was waiting for any last words, and I was simply going to say, you know what? I'm a Disney adult and I'm okay with it, and the haters can just.
Exactly.
I can't think of a better way to wrap this episode up.
Yeah. than telling people to. Well, that was fun. That was fun. So thanks for indulging me with that conversation.
All right, guys, we thank you as always for playing along. And also, as always, we would ask you if you could head on over to Apple Podcast, give us a like, a 5-star review, suggest us to your friends to listen and play along, and join us on Facebook with our merry band of misfits and Disney adults. Amy?
And also, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We're not Disney influencers. We're just Disney adults.
We're just people having fun.
Yeah. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
Started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.